Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Sitting in for Pinky Webb, I'm Ruth Cabal. Today on the program, celebrities and veteran lawmakers are leading the race for the Senate. A broadcaster turned politician clinches the top two spot as she makes a Senate comeback. What are her priorities and how will she navigate the Senate under a Bongbong Marcos administration? Senatorial candidate Loren Legarda joins us live. Actor Robin Padilla retains the lead at the partial and official COMELEC results for the senatorial race. Padilla is followed by Loren Legarda, with broadcaster Rafi Tulfo at third place. Win Gatchalian, Cheese Escudero, Alan Cayetano, Mark Villar, Mig Zubiri, Joel Villanueva, JV Ejercito, Risa Ontiveros, and Jingoy Estrada round out the Magic 12. The tally is based on 82 total certificates of canvass, reflecting over 28 million votes. As we take a closer look at the Magic 12, we find out what this two-time senator and incumbent House Deputy Speaker plans when she returns to the Senate. Let's go straight to the source of the story, Senatorial candidate Loren Legarda. Good morning to you. I think we're back to calling you Senator Legarda. Welcome to the show.
Maganda umaga sa iyo, Ruth. Good morning to all of those in The Source and in CNN and the whole Philippines and the world. Yes, just to correct, if you don't mind, it's my fourth term in the Senate. I started out as a very young senator in 1998 to 2004. My second term was 2007 to 2013, and my third term was 2013 to 2019. I am presently the representative of the Lone District of the province of Antique, and thank you to our kababayans for electing me, but that's, of course, starts on July. Yes. To return to the Senate on my fourth term.
Well, thank you to over 23 million voters, Senator, at least according to the partial and unofficial count. How are you feeling na babalik po ulit kayo dito sa Senado?
My feeling is there's so much work to be done. Just like in the 3 months of the campaign and the 2 years of on and off lockdowns in the pandemic, and especially now as we hopefully rise from the pandemic, I must help ensure that we have a sustainable, green, resilient pandemic recovery that is central to the priorities that I will do in my 6 years in the Senate. We must help the people, help the government, help all sectors to recover from the very debilitating pandemic. And it's still here. So the fight against COVID-19 is central to the work that we must do. And of course, to focus on economic livelihood and trying to bring employment to the more than 4 million unemployed and the more millions underemployed. There's so much to be done. So back to your question, how do I feel? I feel energized and inspired. I feel that there's so much work to be done and we just have to get together and help each other. I am a veteran lawmaker. It's my fourth term, yes. I could not do it alone. I need my colleagues. I need both houses of Congress. We need each other. We need the media. We need each other to be able to succeed in bringing all the government programs and the laws that have been enacted and funded closer to our people.
Ma'am, you've already mentioned about, hindi ko alam po sasabihin ko senator pa rin or congresswoman, but you've also mentioned about the pandemic. Kamustahin ko lang siguro yung first of all, yung how the campaign was for you. Was it harder this time? Because up to a point, medyo naging personal din po yung campaign.
Yes, well, in the whole 3 months, I must say that I was not able to attend many of the rallies. It was a hybrid campaign for me. I was being very, very safe. And I would do a lot of Zooms, not just Zooms, but every online or virtual platform. Yes, I would go to some physical face-to-face rallies, and what I appreciated most perhaps were the meetings, multi-sectoral meetings, where I would meet with women's groups, with barangay leaders, with elected and appointed congressional leaders, with multi-sectoral groups, including farmers and fisher folks, women, senior citizens, or teachers, or children. That's most inspiring for me, because I explain all the laws that I've done in my 3 terms in the Senate. People must know, what are these laws? How have they been funded? How do they affect and impact on our lives as people? And so I also speak about what else I need to do in the next 6 years. And I hear them out so that I know and I can be guided on what the people need. And so it's been very challenging considering the pandemic. It's been challenging considering there's so many candidates. And yes, it's challenging because of the whole situation, the environment, the physical difficulties in the pandemic. But thank God, everything is over, though we are not officially proclaimed yet. So I would be quite hesitant to claim victory, but the partial unofficial results have shown that it is most likely. And I am eternally grateful. I am really, really grateful. Ako po'y lubos na nagpapasalamat. Hindi ko po lubos akalain ang napakaraming landslide na boto po na binigay po ng taong bayan sa akin. Pang-apat ko ng termino, ako'y lubos na nagpapasalamat.
Ma'am, siguro I want to ask you about the lessons from this kind of campaign. You mentioned nga na hybrid, no? Hindi na siya masyado face-to-face with the people, not that personal, but you said you had even hybrid or virtual meetings. And also, kamustahin ko na rin, how's your family, ma'am?
Well, we're good. We thank God for every day that we are alive. Yes, especially after 2 years of the pandemic. And we thank God for both challenges and blessings, because that is life. And so we do what we can. We serve our people well. And of course, we take care of our family members the best way we know. And we are grateful, as I said, for every blessing. And we take each moment at a time, each day at a time. And we just do our best.
Let's go now to the possible a mix of the so-called Magic 12. You have new faces, you have returning senators and veteran lawmakers. But some netizens are, well, in utter disbelief that actor Robin Padilla topped the race. What do you think that says about the Filipino voting public?
The people have spoken. And as I said, let's wait for the official tally and the official proclamation. And I would not like to comment on personalities, because each of the elected senators were elected by millions of people. And so I would respect the will of the people. I would respect the capability of each member of Congress, of each member of the Senate. We are elected representatives of the people. All I can say, and I can stand by my track record of 3 terms in the Senate, and what else I can do. And what really prompted me to return to the Senate is, while I am the district representative of Antique, so much help was needed outside of my home province. So I can speak for myself, and I know that I can work very well with my colleagues in the Senate.
Willing din po ba kayo na tulungan itong mga parang newbies sa Senado, like Padilla and even your former broadcaster also, Raffy Tulfo?
Napangako ko na po sa kanila. Hapon lang tumawag si Senator-elect Robin Padilla. Sabi, ma'am, congratulations po. Salamat po sa inyong pag-guidance sa akin. Because during the campaign, I often tell them about the laws that I've crafted. And I assure them that I will guide him and share what I know and my body of work and legislation to those who are new in the Senate. And even those who are returning. I have much to give, much to share, especially in terms of climate and environment, in terms of resilience, in terms of finance, which I chaired for 5 years. Yes, I am more than willing to share what I know. And let's not limit it to elected senators. I'm willing to share it with my colleagues in media, with friends from all sectors, with the youth of our country. That's why I will return to an online platform to be able to share all I know and the body of work that I've done in my 3 terms in the Senate. And that's quite a lot, Ruth.
With this new lineup, ma'am, it would seem that parang si Senator Risa Ontiveros lang yung may iwan na baka from the minority, and then Senator Coco Pimentel said he's still thinking about it. With this kind of lineup, how do you think the Senate can maintain its independence? Kasi baka daw maging rubber stamp lang or very friendly with the new administration.
Ever since you've seen the Senate as an institution, first, we are a multi-party system, and we represent at least 5 or 6 or even more parties. And you would see, even if we belong to the same party, sometimes we vote differently on certain issues. That's how the Senate is. They always, some people in jest say, oh, that's 24 republics. And so we are not certain who will end up in the minority. But even those in the majority, each of us have our own advocacies. We have shared advocacies as well. We have our own minds, and we will always uphold the integrity and the independence of the Philippine Senate as an institution.
As of now, ba may nakikita na kayong possible Senate President, or would you be seeking that position?
Well, I know that some of my friends and colleagues have made pronouncements in media that they are interested for the post. And this is something that will be discussed once we are officially elected and declared by the COMELEC. And as always, this is not a unilateral decision. This is something that is discussed in a very democratic, consensual discussion among elected representatives of the people. And so that will come for certain when we have a State of the Nation. But even before then, caucuses will be held.
Pero kayo po ba interesado sa posisyon?
I am not aspiring, although people have asked me why not. But I can say, hindi po ako interesado as of now. Hindi ko po iniisip. Napakaraming nagtatanong bakit daw hindi ako interesado. Sabi ko dahil iba naman ang mga gusto kong gawin. But you never know. I am not seeking the position.
We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Ruth Cabal. Our source today, Senatorial candidate Loren Legarda. Ma'am, I'm looking at the laws you authored in the past. You have Magna Carta for MSMEs, yung anti-violence against women, disaster risk reduction. Ngayon po, sa inyong pagbabalik sa Senado, what will be your priorities?
One Tablet, One Student Act. I filed that, Ruth, in the House of Representatives during pandemic. I've consulted with DepEd and saw the difficulty of school children belonging to the DepEd schools. At least 26 million of our children, 1.6 million of our youths enrolled in state universities and colleges. All of them do not have their own gadgets or tablets. It would cost at least 80 billion pesos from the 5 trillion pesos budget. I know it's a big amount, but when you round it up to percentages, that is 1.6% of our national budget. If it is the lifeline of our youths to learning, if it is the need, of course, along with the digital infrastructure, we can't have gadgets without Wi-Fi. And that is already a law that we crafted, that's already enacted. And so that would be one of my priorities. Second, I will make sure that employment generation and entrepreneurship are enhanced. And under our Magna Carta for MSMEs, we have government agencies that have MSME programs. I would ensure that the DTI shared services facilities, the DSWD Sustainable Livelihood Program for the 4P families, and the Dole Pangkabuhayan, among many programs of government, are institutionalized in one livelihood measure called the Pangkabuhayan Law, which will be funded. Second, third,
Third.
as one of the authors of the PESO law when I was 38 or 39 years old with Cablas Ople when he was Senate President, we must ensure that employment generation, job matching, and job facilitation is brought down to the barangay level so that it would be easier for the 4 million plus to find jobs. And so the PESO law must be reviewed, revisited, amended, so that we have the Barangay Employment and Entrepreneurship Service Office. The universal health care, of course, was enacted during my term, and I funded the first year of implementation. But there's much, much more to be desired in the implementation of the UHC. So these and more, of course, the free quality tertiary education will continue to be funded. But central to all of these would be a resilient, green, sustainable pandemic recovery. We cannot allow climate change adaptation and mitigation to be limited to one small commission or agency of government. The whole national government, the whole national budget, the GAA, must have in its budgets and in its day-to-day life, our government, we must mainstream disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation and mitigation. I already wrote this as special provisions in the national budget in the 5 years I was chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance. That is the way towards a sustainable pandemic recovery. And I would make sure that environmental, sustainable governance is institutionalized in all our government functions. ESG is so important. I would also like to focus on the knowledge economy. We see our population, our very young population. We cannot accept that the literacy level is low and that reading and writing of a 10-year-old, of many 10-year-olds is not there. So we must focus on the human capital of our people and focus on the knowledge economy. And this can only happen if we improve the digital infrastructure and if we give gadgets to our children who are in public schools.
Ma'am, you already mentioned a while ago that you headed the Committee on Finance. This time po, ano po yung gusto nyo kayang committee?
This is still something we are discussing. I, of course, would like to chair the Finance Committee, but this is something that we will have to discuss. There are many positions as well. There are leadership positions already being discussed as well, being offered to me or being discussed. But as I said, it's not a unilateral decision. It is not what you want. I have chaired in my 3 terms, environment to economic affairs, to foreign relations, to social welfare, to cultural communities, even those committees perhaps that never meet the headlines, and the chairman of the Committee on Finance, even agriculture. So ang dami-dami na po, kailangan natin suriin kakayanan ng iba, anong kakayanan natin, ano ang ating pag-uusapan. So it's never just me dictating what I want, it's always democratic and consensual.
Our conversation with Senatorial candidate Loren Legarda continues after the break. What are her legislative priorities? More on that. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Ruth Cabal. Our source today is Senatorial candidate Loren Legarda. Ma'am, let's talk about accountability. How will you make this new administration more transparent and more accountable to the people, considering po the new president garnered more than 50% of the votes in the recent elections?
For any public official, Ruth, whether national or government official, whether you are in the executive or the legislature, of course, accountability is part of government service. Yes, all of us are accountable for our actions. All of us are accountable for the work we do.
How will you help in terms of making sure that the government is accountable po, ma'am?
Yes, in the Senate is the third body of government, and we will ensure that we are independent. We will ensure that all the laws needed at this time in our history, at this time of pandemic recovery, will be enacted, and we will ensure that the funding mechanisms of the programs of government are delivered to our people.
Ma'am, before you became a senator, you were a multi-awarded journalist, and you have probably read accounts of our colleagues facing difficulties in covering the Marcos campaign or getting statements from Mr. Marcos. Just the other day, his spokesman apparently deliberately ignored some questions during a press conference. With these reports, how do you see the media operating under the Marcos administration?
We thrive in a democracy, and I can see a very robust democracy. I was in media for 20 years. I've been a senator since 1998. And I know that it cannot be perfect in every administration. And I would urge you, as members of the media, to report in the most responsible manner, in the most comprehensive manner as well. And so I cannot answer for the spokesperson of a presidential candidate. I can answer for myself and the work that I do. And I would say that we are in a democracy. Exercise your right. The right comes with responsibility and accountability as well.
Pero ma'am, makakaasa po kaya kami na you will hold the line with the media and you will be the media's ally in demanding possibly more transparency in covering the new president?
Ruth, I am the ally of the Filipino people, not just one sector. Galing ako sa hanay ninyo. Ako yung naging producer, naging anchor, for a while reporter, and many things. I continue to do documentaries on the advocacies and all the work I do. Yes, I am an ally. I am an ally of the Filipino people.
Ma'am, pag-usapan po natin, galing po kayo ng ABS-CBN, the chances of getting a new franchise kaya under a BBM presidency?
As you know, Ruth, lahat ng mga prangkisa ay nag-emanate sa mababang kapuluan. Kung meron mag-file, yan ay itatakal ng ating mga kongresista sa mababang kapuluan. Ang Senado ang pinakahuling stop ng isang prangkisa. So, alam ko na ang frequency ay nabili na ng ibang mga grupo, kaya antabayanan natin kung may ibang frequency bang naka-allocate para sa ABS-CBN. It's not for me to say. I would not know what the next steps are, whether there would be a new frequency or a new bill filed.
Okay, ma'am, let's go to Fast Talk. You can just answer with yes or no and maybe give a brief explanation if you want. Your stand on civil union or same-sex marriage?
I'm in favor of civil union.
Your stand on divorce?
I filed a bill, hindi yes or no lang to that expands the coverage of annulment para maging mas accessible para sa mga hirap. If this is likened to divorce, sana mabigyan ng pansin. But I'm in favor of divorce, pero kung malaki ang resistance, look at the bill I filed. That will make it easier for couples who have not seen each other for at least 5 years, not because of abandonment. It's a very good bill.
Medical marijuana, ma'am?
As of now, no. That still has to be studied because maraming palusot or safe, not safety, but what if it's not used medically? So I'm very conservative insofar as that is concerned.
Decriminalizing libel?
In my first term, I filed that. I'll check. I filed it every year. In every Congress, I refiled that. That was one of the first bills I filed as a 38-year-old first-term senator.
There have been also several bills on fake news or disinformation. Will you support that?
Of course, having been a purveyor of truth and a journalist, and I value truth. If you ask me, kung may isa sa pinakaayaw ko ay yung nag-iimbento or hindi nag-vet o hindi nag-confirm. And yes, there must be truth in information that we propagate to our people. That's the least that the people deserve.
And you think that would include social media platforms din po?
That would include every platform.
Okay.
First, we have our traditional media, we have the new media, so to speak, any kind of platform. We don't know if there's going to be a new platform that could be invented because everything is evolving. But we must vet information, we must confirm all sources and ensure that the truth and nothing but the truth, to use the cliche, is given to people.
Anti-political
Cannot-
dynasty bill.
Give,
Sorry. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Anti-political dynasty bill, ma'am.
Oh, that's very difficult to do, considering realistically the composition of elected officials. That's very difficult to do. We have to be realistic.
Last na lang for this part, free Laila de Lima. Some of your colleagues are calling for that. I mean, your would-be colleagues in the Senate.
I think it's for the courts to decide. Former Senator de Lima was a colleague in Congress, in the Senate, and I think that's for the courts to perhaps speed up all the cases filed against her so that she can seek justice once and for all.
Thank you very much, Senatorial candidate Loren Legarda. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. Sitting in for Pinky Webb, I'm Ruth Cabal. You're watching CNN Philippines.